So in this video, I want to talk about unrealistic expectations in the workplace, specifically in corporate America. And I want to share my personal experiences as to why, from the very beginning, at like almost right after I started working, I knew that I needed to figure out a way to get out of the rat race as quickly as possible, right? So for context, I'm currently 28 years old right now. I spent majority of my adult life from, well, I guess 16 onwards, working mainly retail positions. And from a very early age, I knew that I needed to figure out a way to get out as quickly as possible. So before I dive in, if this is the first video that you're seeing of me, I want to say welcome to the channel. This YouTube channel is, fairly brand new, and it's mainly, the main purpose of it is for me, an average young American, talking about how I'm navigating the modern world that we're living in, right? So if you are a young person right now, you're trying to get ahead in life, you feel like nothing's attainable, no matter how hard you work, then I want to encourage you to check out some of the other videos. Most of the videos that I have here are regarding, corporate America, and also I talk about ways of making money online and just kind of, trying to live an average everyday life in the crazy times that we're in right now. So yeah, that's pretty much what this channel is about. And now I want to talk about corporate America and my personal experiences, right? So my first job that I've had, I worked in a restaurant that is local to me. And I got the position mainly because my aunt worked there when she was like the same age as me, around 16 years old. It was like her first job. So the owner knew her, and then she, hired me at the time, which I read that she recently passed away. But yeah, she pretty much just kind of gave me the job on the spot. And I worked as a busser in that restaurant, which is pretty much just like cleaning tables and all that. So that job was actually pretty okay. The pay wasn't great at all. I was getting paid less than minimum wage, and that's because at that type of position, you get tips as well. So the servers that work there, they give you like a portion of their tips. And then it kind of ended up being, around sometimes around the same amount, sometimes a little bit more than minimum wage. And that's because you get like the paycheck, and then you get like, physical cash as well, in terms of tips. So that job was pretty okay. The only thing I didn't like about that position was there was one coworker that I've had that, for whatever reason, would always go out of her way to basically just start drama with everyone. And especially for me, for whatever reason, I guess I was like an easy target because I was like the young, kind of naive, stupid looking kid at the time. And she would always accuse me of doing things wrong or not knowing what I'm doing, when I knew for a fact that, I was doing nothing wrong and I was doing the work exactly as intended, right? So, pretty much every workplace that I've been at, there's usually one or two people that are like that, where they try to start drama. And I also want to mention real quick, if you have any stories regarding corporate America, whether that is, how the companies run or people that you've dealt with, or maybe it's the customers, feel free to share your experiences down below. I'd really be interested to hear, what your experiences are working these normal jobs. And I think that most people in the US can relate, to a lot of these things that I'll talk about, right? So this coworker that I've had, she would always go out of her way to say that I was doing things wrong. One thing in particular that she would always, give me a hard time about was whenever, like, it'd be towards the end of the night, I worked from like 4 to like 9 p.m. So, part-time position because I was still in high school at the time. But, like the manager would say like, okay, like finish these couple things, then you could pretty much clock out, right? So she would always give me a hard time and say that like, oh no, you can't do your, you can't finish up yet because you still gotta do these other tables that I waited on, basically. When I was told by the manager like, hey, you gotta just do, just finish up, the stuff, finish up like taking some stuff to the back, and then you clock out and don't listen to what anyone else says, right? So she would always give me a hard time about that. Whenever I would try to explain it, she would immediately just go, shh, shh, don't argue with me, right? And it just got really infuriating. And I remember many times my blood basically just boiling, like to the point where I just wanted to, So I know it's kind of, I know that's kind of messed up to think about, but I just remember at that time just having those thoughts, like, because I just got really just annoyed with her. And it wasn't just me that she went after, but I noticed she went after a lot of other people whenever, she wanted to just stir up drama. And yeah, so pretty much every workplace that I've had has had someone like her that I've worked with. So other than that, the position was pretty chill, and I left that position just because I guess I just didn't feel like working at the time. I just wanted to finish up school. So after that, the rest of the positions that I've worked were mainly like retail jobs. I worked in a grocery store where I was just bagging items, which I don't even think that job exists anymore. But at that position, the main thing that I did not like was the pay was very little to nothing. And well, part of that was because I was working part-time at the time. It wasn't exactly full-time, but I was only getting paid like $7 an hour. And then the manager there would always give me a hard time as well. So at the previous job before, it was that one coworker who always tried to act like she was the boss of everyone. And then at this new job, it was this new manager that never showed any ounce of emotion, always had that natural kind of like pissed off look. And yeah, she would always give me a hard time about a lot of things as well. So the next position that I worked was in a dollar store, and this was, I would say, my worst job that I've had. So it paid a little bit more than the job I had, before. I was making like $8 an hour. But the problem was at this position, I was working like 3 jobs at once simultaneously for, the pay of like one job. And even on days when I was really rushing, trying to go as quickly as I possibly could, ringing up customers, and then also at the same time stocking the store and keeping the shelves, recovered, like pulling all the items forward, I would constantly get bombarded with like, hey, you're not working hard enough, you got to pick up the pace. And no matter how hard I worked, it felt like it was just never enough. And so everyone that I have spoken to who's worked at one of those 3 dollar store chains in the US pretty much all say the same thing. So if you've worked at any of those positions, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And there's a really good video by a creator called RDC World 1 on YouTube. And it's a video called how dollar stores have their employees be doing every job. It's something along those lines. But that pretty much sums up what it was like working at that exact type of environment. So I worked there. I was way too loyal to that company. And one, I would say, flaw about myself is the fact that, and I think a lot of, young workers can be like this as well, where sometimes you just get comfortable in a position where it's like, okay, like in my case, I was walking distance from there. So I'm like, well, I don't have a car payment and I'm still living with parents at the time. So I was able to save money. And I guess that kind of made me justify staying in that toxic environment. But the manager that I had was really rude. She would often complain that I wasn't working hard enough. And, district manager had that, she was like a, mid-40s woman with like that ultra deep masculine voice. And she always had that pissed off look in her as well. So she would give everyone a hard time. And it was just a lot of corporate BS that I dealt with. And so one other example from this particular job that I had was I had to do like an open to close on one day. So I had to clock in at 7 a.m. and I didn't get off until like, 10 p.m., right? And I had to work, the entire shift because nobody else was available. So I was the one person running the entire store by myself that entire day. And keep in mind, this is without any breaks at all. And then on top of that, I had to work like majority of the next day as well. So I, had to work 7 a.m. to I think about 6 p.m. the next day. And then when I got home, maybe like 30 minutes after, the manager texted me and said like, hey, this person, didn't show up or whatever. Like, hey, can you come in and then just finish up the shift? And at that point, I was just completely burnt out. I was super tired and I'm like, no, I can't go back. And then he sent me like a very angry message a few minutes, I think like an hour later, he said, "Oh, thanks a lot. Like, because of you, I wasn't able to like watch a movie with my wife," or something like that. Some really petty comment that he made, and I wanted to go off on him at that point, but for whatever reason I didn't. So I think I went to work the next. I wasn't sure if I was working the next day, but he had some sort of like doctor's appointment or something like that, I think, that whole day, and he didn't have like I don't remember exactly what it was, but then I wasn't able to get a hold of him, so I ended up working majority of that day as well. And then finally I sent like a really long message like saying like, "Dude, I'm gonna quit," basically. And then he kind of apologized and gave me like an extra day off that week, and then I ended up staying for a couple months longer until I left that position, right? So the liquor store position that I had afterwards, that job was pretty chill. And then the next position was stocking shelves in a grocery store. So that one, I liked that position because I was working during the night, and I liked that the store was closed. But there have been a few instances where I'm like, okay, I got to get out of this position as well. And so that is mainly when it's like a really stressful day and there's like a lot of stuff we got to stock up and there's like less employees. And I remember there was one instance where the store director, I guess like store director of that store, like there was 2 people working that entire day and all the aisles were packed. We were, just us 2 were expected to do all those aisles and get them all done in time and then also recover the store. And toward the end of that shift, like we were, just working, just rushing the entire day basically. And toward the end of the day, we're like on the last aisle. We're, both stocking the aisle together. And like every 5 minutes, she walks by and she's like, "Okay, hurry it up. You guys almost done yet? You almost done yet?" And I was like this close to being like, "Shut up, lady," saying something like that to her. But these are all experiences that I went through that made me decide, okay, I need to figure out a way to make an income online and get out of the rat race altogether. So that has been my mindset and what I've always spent a lot of my free time doing throughout those years. And luckily I do have other income streams that I've built up as well alongside that, which have been steadily growing. So if you want to check out what I do to earn an income online, then I have a free school community that you could join down below. And that is where I pretty much go over how you can make money promoting digital products. So there's no creating anything yourself. You don't have to worry about customer service, and you just focus on getting traffic online. So you can learn more about that if you want down below. Otherwise, let me know your experiences down below. Let me know if you found this video entertaining or insightful in some way. Give us a thumbs up and take care. See you in the next one.